Welcome, AirServe Nation, to our first virtual system sales training class. A world-class experience, home comfort design, control your own destiny or someone else will. And really want to stress that, especially now more than ever, in some interesting times that are out there, that we're having to kind of change the game a little bit with some of the things that we're doing, but making sure that we follow the process, stay on track, and not allow anyone to derail what we're trying to accomplish, and that's gain and earn a new customer, a new client to the AirServe team and family. So throughout the next few sessions through this virtual system sales training experience, hope you enjoy the material. Again, as you all know, if you have any questions, you can reach out to me on a daily basis for any extra information or training or clarification on anything that we're doing here in this virtual system sales training class. So excited to share with you these next few sessions, and let's get started. So as we go through this session, make sure and remember that we do have our weekly coaching sessions. So a few things to remember. That home comfort design training class at weekly coaching session is Wednesdays from 10 a.m. Central to 11. It's about an hour in length. Sometimes we go over a little bit depending on the feedback and participation we get in that. And that class has grown substantially here recently in the last few months. That meeting ID, if you're having trouble getting the link, is 149-809-3693, and that's every Wednesday, 10 a.m. Central. Look forward to seeing you there. Also, our CSR coaching sessions, our first impression session, every Thursday from 10:30 a.m. Central, and that is talking about how to properly set up our leads more successfully, getting homeowners there, time commitments, making sure the stage is set for a more successful call, listening to live sessions each and every week from all over the country, Canada, and getting some great feedback and some coaching from folks that have been doing in this role for a long period of time. If you'd like to get signed up on that, go to your Ring Central app as well. Meeting ID 149-529-6365. Changing the game, right? We've been put in a position where we have had to learn, or I guess you would say at least adjust how we approach our sales process a little bit more so than ever. What have we learned so far? COVID-19, right? It's real, it's out there. People are very, very leery about bringing folks into their home. We have to make sure and use the precautions, make sure we take those extra steps and measures to make sure people feel safe. Wearing, as always, our floor protectors, putting the mats down, something we've always done, but now maybe wearing protective sanitized gear, masks, gloves, etc. So make sure we're taking those extra steps to ensure customer safety and that distancing that we need to take, those steps we need to take to ensure that they feel comfortable with us coming into their home. I have a lot of different folks out there using Apple TV devices, projection devices on their phones to share their program or their presentation with the client as well. So something to think about, but always front of mind. Are you the first to press the flesh? Never, right? We've always been trained not to do that. We're going to continue to do that. We're going to continue to keep our system very similar, if not identical, but adding a few extra value adds to make sure the customer feels more safe than ever. We're more digital than ever before. So when we look at the digital part of our process, we've always had the tools and things to be more paperless, but now we look at it and say to ourselves, wow, we really do have to dig in and utilize our technology on a day-to-day, week-by-week, month-by-month basis to ensure our customers have things at their fingertips, our presentation material, work orders, all the above, right? So we're more digital than we ever have been. Importance of personal space. We've learned a lot here in the last few months about how important indoor air quality, how healthy our systems and homes are. And we have a big impact on that. So as you go through your processes, make sure we're digging in, we're finding out how to add some value in that personal space, even more so than we have before. Respecting and protecting on a higher level than ever before. So again, as we walk through this little bit of a new world with heating and air, we have to make sure we really take a step back and eyes wide open and accept that some of the changes have been thrown at us and keep giving that world-class experience that we always have. let's dig in. Psychology of sales, the why behind the how. Talk about this each and every week. Talk about this in all our sessions that we have regionally. We must understand that psychology is not something that we are trying to manipulate or trick somebody into doing something. It's understand how we communicate a little bit differently than we have in the past. Sales is a foreign language. It's something that it's sometimes harder for others to grasp and understand because of how we use persuasion processes, how we talk to people, make sure they feel comfortable, using words like agreement instead of work or instead of contract, approval versus please sign. So home instead of house, right? We all know home is where we take care of our family, raise kids, congregate, hang out more now than ever, right? So as we look at that process, we really have to make sure and understand how we communicate to our homeowner in the best way possible to make sure they feel like they're not being manipulated or tricked into doing something. At the end of the day, one thing that I will never do is show you how to push someone into a corner and force them to do something they do not want to do. So psychology of sales, the why behind the how. We do that with our 7 persuasion principles. And those 7 persuasion principles really are an important part of that psychology process, that communication process. And we study these because every 10 to 18 years, we get a chance at the big picture, at the big project, the system replacement. The system replacement is one of our biggest growth factors that we have. So we must have these items dialed in and be able to use them throughout our process. Likability, right? Making sure that the folks like what they see from the time we pull up and the time we leave. Making sure we have a great first impression. Our intro is key to our success. Authority, right? As we walk through that authoritative process, we have to have our shoulders back, chest out, and be the expert. We have to show confidence in what we're doing. And our 11-step program allows us to do that. Scarcity, we have to create an experience that our customers can't look across the other side of the street and get anywhere else. Wow, I can get that there. No, they can't. We have to be different and better. We have to create an experience where we're not a commodity that can get, compared to on a shelf and get the best price, right? Consistency, making sure from when we do pull up or even when the time the phone rings, from the time we send out our technicians, our service professionals, we send out our home comfort designers, our install teams, from going back and following up to calling our happy calls at the end of that experience for that customer. That's all the same, but also making sure that every single customer gets that world-class experience, getting all the options that they need, getting really the same experience their neighbor got. So being consistent in that approach. Contrast, painting the right picture, right? We all look at, we always notice a very clean and shiny car driving, especially a new one driving down the street because it catches your attention. We have to also make sure that we are running that same type of program, painting a picture of cleanliness, professionalism, keeping our vehicles clean, shirts pressed, right? Slacks pressed, all those things to ensure when we walk up, we look like we have our act together. But using contrast in a lot of ways as well to explain product. How are we painting a picture of equipment? It's very easy just to throw up technical information once we become knowledgeable in that field and forget about our customers not understanding what it is we're talking about. Consensus, very, very important there as well, right? We want to show our third-party information to show people our Facebooks, our social media, our Googles, everything that's out there that people want to be a part of. And also we can use that as giving examples with our customers for solutions, right? Reciprocation. At the end of the day, what we're really trying to achieve is we're going to give a service or a product solution to our client. And in return, they're going to do business with us. That persuasion principle has been around for centuries, where trade is something that has been around a long, long time, where you give someone something and expect something in return. We're going to give back that world-class experience and world-class solution to our client. So again, why we study these things, why we really focus on the persuasion principle and the psychology of sales, because we really truly only get one shot at someone's business. Hard work. One thing is for certain. As a home comfort designer, as a sales professional, you are going to work hard at this. This is not something, if you've had the gift to gab, you're going to walk out and chat with somebody and just earn their business because they like the way you look, they like the way you talk, but at the end of the day, they don't like the product that you have. So we have to dig into financing. We have a lot of homework to do, right? We have to understand financing products. We have to understand the product itself, making sure that our install team is set up properly to make sure that they're able to do the job and not have to run around and get a bunch of parts all day long. So they're very efficient, communicating with our office staff. The list goes on and on and on. So remember, as you get into this evening and weekend position, that you are going to work hard. You are going to have days where you felt like you ran a marathon. You run three calls in a day, you're going to be exhausted. So you have to be able to have that mental in-zone preparation, see what's going to happen, envision you getting that sale, and then getting right back up in the morning and doing it again. When we're busy, we're busy. And we need to make sure that we have our A game on at all times, work hard, be a student of the game as you go through this process. How do we catch a monkey? We always ask, how do we catch a critter, right? We bait them, we trick them, we entice them with something, and they put their hand in that cookie jar, in this case, that coconut, and they can't get their hand out because they don't know any different, right? They've always done the same thing. They've always got the same result. So I can reassure you, if you allow yourself to keep doing the same things, you're not going to progress. You're not going to get to that next step or level. We have to think about and making some changes. And the quicker you're able to make some changes and accept this path, these 11 steps and the psychology and everything wrapped around our process, the easier this is going to get on you. But it's going to take some role play. It's going to take some practice to allow you to get to that next level. So as we look at that, make sure that we're really focusing in on that change that we must make. So let's dive into it. So again, in this session, we're going to talk about our first 4 steps, the sales roadmap. These 11 steps is your roadmap to your $1 million goal. And that's our goal, right? Now, again, it's whether or not you stay on track and achieve those results, but this is going to allow us as coaches, and not only your franchise business coach, but myself, to come in and say, hey, why is my average ticket low? Well, I'm going to go to step 5 and realize that we're missing some answers to questions. We're not asking the right questions. We're not digging in enough to find out what's important to our customer. If we're having a hard time close, I'm going to go to 4 buying criteria. If we're missing some value, we're afraid to ask for higher dollar amounts or bigger tickets, I'm going to the air serve difference. How we're proposing our home comfort design options. If you're having a hard time showing a platinum system, there's a lot of things in here that allow us as coaches, especially myself, to fall back on and say, hey, I walk through these steps. I understand these steps. And in order to be a coach, you have to be able to have something in place to allow that individual, that rep, that home comfort designer to go, hey, if you do this a little bit differently, or if you follow this process a little bit better, it's going to get easier. So without this treasure map, without this roadmap to success, it's very hard for us to get that end result we're looking for. So as we look at that, we're going to spend a little time today on a few of those steps. So before we do that, we have to make sure we're set up for appointment time, right? So before we get a lead dispatched to us, we try to focus on that one lead at a time. Maybe for a seasoned home comfort designer, they're able to see their schedule a little bit more clearly on a day-to-day basis or a weekly basis. In the beginning, I recommend dispatching one lead at a time, making sure that that home comfort designer is able to focus on that marketed or technician flipped lead. We don't want them pre-qualifying and prejudging the lead they're running to get to the next best thing. So as we look at that, we do need some very vital information, appointed time, specific time. I hear some folks give windows of time. If I'm the customer looking at replacing a product like this for my home, I want specifics, right? I want to give exact time and dates so I can take time off or come to an evening time that works for my family or the decision maker is going to help with this. We need first and last name, right? Seems pretty common, but as basic as it sounds, we need first and last name, address. We need that phone number in case we're running late, which hopefully we never are, but traffic does happen. But hopefully we have all that information to contact the customer and make sure that we can get in touch with them if need be. Again, time of appointment, and then type of call, history. any history that we can get from our office professionals, from our technicians ahead of time is a big value add. Whether it's marketed or a technician lead, it does not matter. It just helps us prepare in what to expect. As we're going to those appointments, a habit that I made, I always reached out to the technicians before I ran the appointment to get a little bit of a back history on what's going on. So don't be afraid to pick up the phone and call to see what is going on. Once that appointment's done, we should have some type of closeout process to ensure that everybody has the information that they need as well. So in return, we're providing that feedback, whether we close the job, win, lose, or draw. Different and better. So let's talk about active versus passive needs for a second. Something that's very important, we all must understand what's the difference. Active needs are something that the customer calls in for, very aware of, right? They're sweating to death or freezing to death, or they're very uncomfortable, they need us out there ASAP. So as we look at that, that's an easy call to run. That's an easy solution to get. The passive needs are where you start to separate yourselves from everybody else in your market. A passive need is when you start asking the right questions. You're digging in and finding out that they do have inadequate airflow to a room. They're uncomfortable in part of their home. They have allergies, asthma. They have these things that we can affect, that we can help provide solutions for. So when you become that passive needs solution provider and problem solver, you start to become a lot different and better than most of your competitors out there. But a lot of customers, a lot of clients are not expecting you to walk in and go through these things in depth. They're not expecting you to even ask the questions you ask. So once we dig into that a little bit, there's one thing we must do, and we must activate those passive needs. We must create a desire and a want, a need for them to say, you know what, it makes sense for us to take care of this while we're taking care of our other problem, our active need. I've also seen us go into someone's home for a duct cleaning and offer a full system. I've also seen folks go in there for a dryer vent cleaning and end up offering and completing a transaction for a large system sale. So the active need is what the customer's calling for. It's up to us to activate those passive needs. That's where we become different and better. So let's dig in. Home comfort sales system, step one. Pre-call prep, right? We must be ready. We must be organized. We must be ready for that call. We must have that mental end zone preparation in order for us to be successful. If we forget our tool bag, we're in trouble, right? A little different tool bag than our service professionals, but we have a tool bag. We have tape measures. We have a lot of documents. We have our Home Comfort Design Pro process, laptops, iPads, whatever you're using to present to your homeowner. Pens, paper, taking notes, financing applications. The list goes on and on and on. As simple as our floor savers, right? Some of us like to call booties. Again, as we go through that process, we have to make sure that we're ready for every call. We have to walk up to that home being ready for every situation. And we do that at one opportunity at a time. We've done some math on this in the past, and we must be prepared when we do have these opportunities presented to us, because these opportunities cost the company money. One opportunity can cost anywhere from $200 to $300 just to walk through the front door. So again, we always had the approach that if I was charged $200 to $300 to run a call before I even sold the opportunity, man, that could add up in a hurry if I was very unsuccessful closing. So as we look at that, we have to take the very serious approach of saying, hey, when we get this opportunity, we must make it count. We must be prepared. We must have that vehicle clean. I've had customers come back out, walk out to your car, and if it looks like you're living in there, do you think they really believe that they're getting a clean, world-class solution brought to their home? Are we going to hold up our end of the deal if it looks like Matt is living in his van or his vehicle? Probably not. So be prepared in all aspects. Be ready for success. When we do that, there's a lot of things that we have, the tools that we need to be ready to go. Business cards, right? We've always trained with our business cards to pass those out at the end of that call. Now with a little bit of different time, I recommend taking a screenshot of that business card. If you have email, maybe putting it on there, whatever it is to allow the customer and client to get that information, to be able to contact you after that appointment's done or after that solution's put in. You're the one that made the agreement with them, right? You promised them these things, and they should be able to get a hold of you. Photo IDs, right? Very important. Making sure they know who you are when you walk up. It gives them that certain sense of comfort knowing that, hey, Matt Mackling Our HCD is here as promised, and he has a nameplate that says so. Tape measure, 30-foot tape, the good old-fashioned rollout tape. We want to make sure that we get the client involved here when we're doing our measurements. Floor savers, right? Protecting the customer's home. Illustrates our company's concern for the client's property. Air served doormats. I always place my doormat on the inside of the home. Some do on the outside. It's kind of your preference. I always did it on the inside to allow that customer to see that air served mat and that we're actually putting that down versus me just standing outside on it. And it could be raining, it could be muddy. We could get some interesting weather that caused that mat to get dirty and collect some dirt and debris on our shoes. Coveralls, right? We're going to get into attics. We're going to get in crawl spaces. We must protect our tire. We must be very conscious of what we're crawling into. I crawled into a lot of attic spaces, a lot of ductwork, and climbing back into getting back into someone's home, kitchen table, wherever we're at. You don't want to drag that mess with you. Calculator. Get a good old-fashioned calculator. We do not want to be handing out calculators, or I guess I would say our phones in this case, to our customer to do math configurations on our phones. Who knows, right? Our buddy's number pops up. Some vulgar statement is made. We have a lot of friends and people that text us at different times of the day. We do not want to be using our phone and make that mistake. Flashlights, right? Never ask a client to use a flashlight. Most of our phones have those today. To get a really good illuminated flashlight, 150 to 200 lumens is the power of light that I would get. We want to really illuminate those ductwork, those areas of concern. We want to make sure the customer is able to see these things that we're going to try to provide a solution for, those passive needs. Proposals, digital camera, cell phone, laptop with internet connectivity, small color printer. Don't make the mistake and not give the customer a work order if your internet connectivity is poor. We can always print that work order off and get that agreement on the spot. Screwdriver, to be used if we need to take the cover off a unit, which we very seldom should have to, but we can. Breath mints. Don't want to eat a whole bag of onions before you head out to an appointment. And if you have had a rough lunch, grab some breath mints. 6-foot ladder. We need to make sure that 6-foot ladder is with us. We're going to get in attic spaces. We may have to get on roofs, things like that we need to be prepared for. Again, avoid using a client's ladder. Some will allow you to have that option, but try to insist that we use our own materials. Home Comfort Design System Workbook. Always want to be studying, student of the game, solution insert pages, third-party information, load calculation sheets, and then last but not least, financing applications. We have to pay for the job. If we have a work order completed and we're able to process payment, we're good to go. So again, a lot of things to be ready for. One thing that's not on here that you'll see is not a lot of tools and gauges and things like that our technicians, our service professionals carry. Really at no point in time should we be hooking up gauges to an air conditioner or inside unit. So again, keep that in mind. Make sure we're stocked and ready to go. Once we are, then initial greeting starts. And this is where we're going to walk into that neighborhood, right? Arrive that 5 to 10 minutes early, manage that perception, make sure we're kind of seeing the surroundings. If it's a gated community, safety is important to them. If they have a couple electric cars plugged into the side of the home, efficiency is important to them. If they have a very well-groomed yard, maybe the tidiness is pretty important to them. Don't judge a book by its cover, but manage perception as you pull into those neighborhoods. As we exit the vehicle, exit quickly and with a smile. If it looks like the dog or the pet got ran over the night before, or hey, a girlfriend or somebody else, we had an argument or whatever the case is, it's very easy to wear that image on our expressions. So make sure that attitude and make sure we're ready for that call and we hop out looking like we're ready for business. We're ready to take care of that customer. All of our customers are in a time of understanding that they have a dollar amount attached to this call of some sort, especially in a sense of replacing their system. So make sure we get them excited about this experience. And we can't do that if we hop out of the car slouched over, looking like we had the worst night of our lives before we came here today. Knock on the door frame, step back. Friends knock, right? As we look at that, our friends always knock on the door frame. So our goal is to knock, have those phone numbers ready. If someone is not answered, pick up the phone. Maybe they're in the backyard. Maybe they're just not waiting for you to get there. A lot of times people are, so they'll be ready. They'll be peeking out windows, looking for that arrival time to be when you promised. If not, we can ring the doorbell if needed, but that's our process. Smile and introduce. Do not, and again, we've trained on this for as long as I can remember, do not be the first to press the flush. We want to wave our hand out to the side and say, hey, I'm Matt with AirServe. I had our technician Joe out here the other day, and it looks like you guys have a compressor that had some problems and you guys wanted to look at some replacement options. Love to come in and get started. So again, I'm not reaching that hand out. I'm more so now than ever, I'm keeping it back, right? I'm making sure that they feel comfortable with us not passing any germs off to them, or that we're not being intrusive in that personal space. Get on that first name basis. Friends do buy from friends. So as we look at that, we want to say, Mr. Jones, it would be okay if I called you Bob. Absolutely, no problem, Matt. Now, if someone denies that and says, well, I'd rather have you call me Mr. Jones, then do so. But most of the times, if you ask very politely, a lot of folks will go ahead and say, yep, absolutely. You can go ahead and get on that first name basis and move forward. And we're going to use and abuse that first name. We're going to get that name incorporated into our entire presentation as much as possible. So if you've just ran an appointment and you have a bill on that last call, and this is Bob, you might want to write the name down in the beginning on a sheet of paper so you don't forget. Place AirServe mat. As we walk in, we get our mat set down. Again, mine inside the home. Let them see that process. Turn that AirServe writing, that brand towards them so they can see who they're doing business with. A constant reminder of professionalism. And then go ahead and kneel down, put those floor savers on. And if that customer gives you any grief, you don't have to do that. Matt, don't worry about those things. If I have initial responses, you know what? Bob, I believe if the roles are reversed, you were at my home, you do the same for me. So I'd really like to go ahead and continue on here with applying these floor protectors. Most of the time, 99% of the time, no one's going to argue with you. Never say my boss or my company requires us to do so. Respect and protect initial greeting. So as we go through that process, you can hear how I role played through my initial greeting with my technician had a bad compressor. If we stutter and we say, hey, I'm Matt with AirServe, and it sounds rough, the customer is hearing the same thing. We must role play this information. We must sit down and record ourselves doing it. We must go through this to make sure that we hear what we sound like. A lot of us believe that we sound awesome because it's us. But we do need to practice how we introduce ourselves to each and every customer as a sign of not only professionalism, but well rehearsed and ready to get to work, and them excited to bring us into your home instead of stuttering around and tripping over yourself before you even get in the door. So role play, role play, role play. Once we do that, we're getting to the kitchen table. We might create a sincere compliment. Gosh, I love did you guys just put these floors in? Where'd you get that picture? Any of those things and above. But as we walk through the door, a lot of folks, especially if they've had previous contractors in their home, they're going to try to get you to go to the unit because that's where the problem's at, or that's where the other contractor, the previous contractor, drug them to. Our goal is to get to the kitchen table, maybe again at a little bit more of a distance currently, but we want to get down to where we're going to do business. We're going to get to the point where we want to see the nonverbal communication. We want to look them in the eye. We want them to know that they can trust us and see the value in what we do. So a lot of times a customer, if they do drag us to the unit, we want to stop them and say, hey, you know what, Bob? I am absolutely here for all those reasons. I'm going to take a ton of pictures, do a lot of measuring. So I'm definitely going to cover that part of our visit. What I'd like to do is to get to know you guys a little bit more, kind of your lifestyle, thermostat settings, things like that, and see if we can dig in and find out about those things first before we start running around the home. Thermostat settings and all that are very important to making sure we design the system the right way. And you might have some hot and cold spots, and I wouldn't know that without talking to you. So if we could grab a spot at the kitchen table somewhere, that would be fantastic. And then I'll go ahead and continue on to the unit once we go through a couple things. Is that fair? So again, we have to ask permission again to make sure we're maintaining a friendly level of control throughout that process. So as we go through that, gaining and maintaining that control is very important. Step 3, build a connection, right? One of the most important things that we have in our back pocket is trying to make sure that we can build some rapport. We can dig into some of that personal life. We can build a connection with those customers. It's sometimes not as always easy as we'd like it to be. but we have to do our best and do so. I can go on and on about experience I've had where folks just were closed book and they didn't want to open up and talk, and we still have to do our thing and do our process. But the ones that did open up, it made that experience a lot more exciting for both parties. We do that with a few things, right? We understand that people do buy from people they like and trust throughout building that connection process. We talk about family. If you talk to me about my two boys, you talk to me about my family, my wife, the things that we like to do, I'm all ears. I'm going to talk to you about it. So we want to look around for those family pictures, those kids on the wall, those refrigerator albums that are out there. Occupation, right? A lot of folks, hey, what do you do for a living? Now, some maybe a little more closed book, but most people are pretty proud to talk about the things they do for a living. Recreation, right? What do we like to do outside of work? We all work to live, not live to work, right? So we would like to find out what's going on outside the walls of their business or their employment. So that's a very good one to break open the wall. If you have a sincere interest in something, make sure that you don't also put your foot in your mouth. You can ask somebody about the material possessions when you look at, oh man, you like to golf or you like camping. If you don't like either one of the two, be careful of how you approach that. We don't want to pretend we know how to keep score in a golf game. We don't want to make sure that I don't know what a bogey or par or any of those things are and bring those up and not know really what I'm talking about. Take a genuine interest in it and uncover with questions why that person or why that individual got into those sports or those recreational hobbies that they do have. So as we go through that process, make sure also never be the one-upper. I do a lot of outdoor activities, fishing one. And if someone told me, or if I saw a fish hanging on the wall, I don't want to be the guy that says mine was bigger, right? My fish was larger than that. That takes away from the story and that discredits you a little bit as well. So again, warming up, very, very important. Step 4, our 4 buying criteria is setting the stage. One of the most important things we must do, you all owe it to yourselves to find out why you may not have received someone's approval to get their business. The 4 buying criteria is allowing you to do that. It's allowing you to set the stage. It's allowing you to go through some scripting in our home comfort design manual that you guys will find on Fran Connect at your access to go through and sharpen those skills. And we're going to go through that also in our home comfort design pro process in the next few sessions. We must make sure that we're able to set the table for what the customer to expect. If we check these boxes, then we're going to go ahead and have a great chance at earning their business. And those 4 buying criteria is first of all, knowing which company to choose. I want to make sure whoever we decide to do work with is going to support their promise. The second one, right, making sure we find out what product, what solution they're looking for. Very important to make sure we're not hearing what we want to hear, but we want to hear what they want to hear, but providing solutions, letting them pick. The third thing, making sure and help the customer understand or find out, right, are they a value type of buyer or are they looking for cheapest upfront cost? So that number 3, very, very important, is how much. And last but not least, we must pay for that system. We must help them find solutions to pay for that system and that 4 buying criteria. So if we're able to do that, we have a very good chance at earning someone's business. But the core and the reason behind that 4 buying process, 4 buying criteria process is creating similarity with your clients. I'm a lot like you. I buy things similar to you. We all do, right? We all have to look at these not so exciting projects that we want to spend our money on. We'd rather go on vacation. But we must create similarity with them to change that perception that we're that typical salesperson. We're that typical peddler that's looking to take all their hard-earned money, right? We have to create that similarity so we're no different than them. Get on that level and set the stage. If someone's talking fast, you might have to speed up your conversation. Talking slower, maybe someone elderly, we have to slow down. Set the stage. Here's what's going to happen. If it does, do we have a chance at earning your business? Because that's what we're there for. Gain agreement. We're getting them to agree with a lot of things we talk about throughout that process. That bigger yes is easier to get at the end of that conversation. Last but not least, create reciprocity. If I'm able to do these things, can we ask for that business? So at this point in time, we're getting some commitments on the front end. If we're able to hold up our end of the deal, do we have the right to go ahead and get that approval on that agreement at the end of our visit? So to go through that 4 buying criteria, we have to keep these 4 things in mind as we go through that. If you achieve these things, your results will start to become very different very quickly. So again, that sums up the key points of the 4 buying criteria in the steps 1, 2, and 3, right? Pre-call prep, being ready for the call. Number 2, initial greeting, how we approach the home, how we introduce ourselves. Step 3, building that connection, making sure we can, right, kind of get involved in their lives a little bit and understand who these people are, like also understand who I am. So as we go through those 4 steps initially, very, very fundamentally, so important to what we do, but sometimes we do forget about these things. Stay on track and get those 4 things completed. And then daily, right, track these results daily. We will have a home comfort design goal calendar. You'll have access to that on Brand Connect, so you guys can review that as well. And being able to track these numbers on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, very important. Going through these once a day. If you don't track your results, even role plays and things like that, very hard for us to advance forward. So as we do that, make sure that we're looking at these numbers, KPIs, and results on a daily basis. So quick review, consultant versus peddler. Hopefully we know the true difference. The consultant listens more, right? What's in it for the customer versus a peddler, what's in it for them? We're changing perception of what that salesperson, that sales approach should be. We don't want our client and customer to think of us as a fast-talking used car salesman. We don't want that. So make sure you understand the difference between the 2. Persuasion principles, likability, authority, scarcity, consistency, contrast, consensus, reciprocation. Vital to making sure that we're able to relay our foreign language of sales to our customer in a very, very, very comfortable manner. Creating the need, active versus passive. Do you truly know the difference? If we're going out and we're selling boxes to everybody, we're missing the point. Dig in, find out what else is important to our customer. The sales hallway. That sales hallway is everything we're doing each and every time we open up our presentation, every time we approach a home. Is my car clean? Yep, door closed down that hallway. Did I overcome the objection of them agreeing to give us a chance at their business if everything comes true in the 4 buying criteria? Yes, sales hallway. So as we close those doors down the sales hallway, we eliminate objections we have to approach at the end of that visit. Very, very important to close those doors, or we're going to have a bucket of objections at the end it's going to allow us to have a hard time of earning someone's business. Understanding our 4 steps. Again, pre-call prep, initial greeting, build that connection, and that 4 buying criteria. Are we going through that fundamental process to ensure our customer sees us as different and better? And then homework. Now, I'm not going to give you homework today, but you should give yourself homework every day, something to work on. Our steps 1 through 11. As we go through all those steps, are we really as sharp as a razor blade? Are we creating that awareness with our customer base that they can't get this anywhere else? Because I can promise you this, if it's a little bit rough around the edges, and the next guy that comes in and gives them a proposal that's not, our likelihood of earning that business goes down dramatically. So we must be sharp on all aspects of our steps 1 through 11. So again, this concludes our first section of our virtual system sales training course. I hope you guys all enjoyed the material. We will pick back up on the next session and dig into our Home Comfort Design CD Pro program to show you the benefits of having this process and allowing the customers to see a process they can't get anywhere else, and giving that world-class home comfort design process. So that's all for now. Thanks for joining in. Again, Matt, Director of Retail Sales. See you next time.